Radio check 1 2, how do you hear? If anyone is in the chat, please respond. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Yeah, it looks like it's coming through on the system, so I'm assuming you can hear me okay. Photography 5 out of 5, thank you very much. Well then, welcome. It's not going to be a particularly long stream today, but we are in a Diamond DA62. Something a little different. Short trip, we're at Salzburg right now, where the weather's great. We're going to be heading into Innsbruck. It's not going to be a particularly long flight, under an hour or so, about that. Innsbruck is notoriously challenging, so we're flying it in this. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I've actually had this aircraft, the Diamond, for a little while. Fairly experienced on it, but I haven't flown it in a long time either. So both experienced, but I haven't flown it recently. So we'll see how that goes. It's not too long to set up though. So yep, as you can see, it's a lovely day here at Salzburg, and it is also the same at Innsbruck. If I bring the weather up here, it's Daisy. I'm going to just set the weather now because I think I might have changed that. Definitely don't want it to be cav okay. Also online with VATSIM. There's no controllers online at the moment, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, yeah, I'll need to just make sure that the weather is set correctly. Perhaps if I press it again. Just making sure the weather's set correctly. Give that a minute. I'm also testing a stream overlay. At the moment it's showing no flight. Hopefully that picks up as we go. It gets it from VATSIM. We'll see how that goes. It should just give you a quick glance where we're at with the flight. We're currently parked up, so hopefully that updates as we go. Bear with me while I just check to make sure that the weather is working. Looks pretty spot on. Cool, alright. Good. So hopefully this says no flight at the moment. Hopefully that'll update as we go. So I guess we'll crack on with the setup. As for the plane, I've got full fuel in the main tanks, a little bit of cargo. Just the one passenger. It's fully loaded with de-ice, but we're honestly not going to need that. Oxygen is there as well. It's not a pressurised plane, so we need to make sure we turn that on as we go. Passing about 10,000 feet. I believe if you're above 10,000 for longer than half an hour, then you'll need to have some supply of oxygen. So that's all topped up and ready to go. Cool. Very nicely well detailed plane. Right then, let's crack on. This shouldn't take too long to set up. The route is pretty simple. We're just going to be taking off and then going straight into an approach. So most of this I've sort of done. So I'll just do what I do, and we'll do this we'll do the items and then we'll check it with the checklist. So it shouldn't take as much time. Right, so we'll have that. Alternators on and ready. Okay. Right. I hope you guys can hear the plane okay as well. Throttle levers are idle. That's through my independent panel. Fuel control is already on as well, so that's fine. Static source, yep, I checked that already, is closed. This is all fine. Do a quick test of the fire and gear warning. that's fine, everything else is fine. I'll take some nav lights as well, just to show someone's in it. Close the door. I'll do a quick flight control check. It's been a little while since I've flown this one, so hopefully goes as expected. Yep. How did you learn to fly the DA62? Well, I learned to fly the DA42 for real when I was in flight training. The DA62 is pretty similar. It's slightly more modernised, but the aircraft is more or less the same. There's a few additions. It's got a few more seats, extended range with auxiliary fuel tanks. It's very similar, but more or less the same. Easy to transfer onto. Right. So there's no controllers here. We'll go ahead and start the engines because we don't have, of course, we don't have an APU on this sort of light aircraft, so we'll crack on with that now. So, clear prop, please. There's obviously no one about. There's also no controllers online at the moment, so no one to request clearance from. Alright. Go for a fuel pump, masters on. We'll wait for the glow light to go off. The glow plug, because it's a diesel aircraft. That's now gone, so we'll go for a starter. 500 RPM, release it, and allow it to warm itself up. Turn the fuel pumps off as well for the moment. We'll go pump on the right, faster on, wait for the glow light to go out. And here's number 2. Wait for the oil temperatures and pressures to rise as well, and we'll turn off the fuel pump for the moment. There you go. Much more straightforward start sequence there. Avionics on as well. I have had some issues with my hardware panel where it's been a bit sticky, so hopefully that... I don't like that. Well, hopefully that stays. Right then, so we'll crack on with the setup. Not loads to do. I hope that stream overlay starts to update as well soon. Inset map I'm happy with. Might just take the range back on it slightly. A bit more detailed view. Happy with that. Comms and nav aids. Well, the departure, I've already pre-prepared the plates that we're using. We're over at Golf 86 here. Here's the departure that we're doing. It's an RNAV departure, all GPS based. The Rattenberg 3 Alpha. If the wind is still favouring that, we'll just double check. I think it's just, yeah, we'll just take it. It's variable. It was sort of southerly favouring earlier, so that's fine. So it's going to be runway 33. So nothing to set on the nav aids, but because it's fairly short, I'm just going to pop in the localizer DME that we'll need, which is 1111. So I'm doing this using my external panel just for the ease of pushing buttons. And that may not. Okay, yeah, 111's then. I'll just do it on the second one as well. And there you go. So you can just about see that there. It's automatic. It's populated itself there, so that's fine. No controllers. Just double check again because this does change often. Oh, we might have some controllers. Let's see if they're covering us. Doesn't look like it. No, not quite. That's easier for us then. Okay, so comms we're happy with. We've got 1228 there. Put 122. Put a standby frequency in as well. 128, 121.5. So comms are set. And we'll just refer back to here. So departure is to get us to 6,000, above 6,500. Normally ATC would clear us to a certain level. Actually, no, they wouldn't. We have a climb clearance initially of 10,000, so we'll set that up there, and that's an altitude. We're cruising flight level 120, so it's a fairly short fairly low level flight. And that's set. Okay, we'll back out of there. PFD information, well, we'll bring GPS up there, we'll need that shortly. We're going to be using that for the initial departure. DME, we can leave that off for the moment. We'll have a wind. Yeah, that's just showing us wind. There isn't any wind really to show at the moment, but we will do the altimeter in hectopascals. 1034, like so. And trip down memory lane, setting all this up. Salzburg has a reasonably high elevation, so 1034 there. We'll should be doing the same on the standby as well. So 1034 is set. Let's double check, triple check the elevation. 1411, and yeah, that's there as well. So QNH is correct. Is that the VATSIM thing? I assume you're referring to the stream overlay. It should just be on the top of the screen. You should have a little thing that says no flight in red, which hopefully that'll update as we go. It's my first time trying to use it, but it should just display the flight information as we go. Let me know if you can see that. It should be displaying on the stream. Okay, so I'm happy with this DME transponder. We'll leave it on 2000, but we'll set it to standby. Timers are fine, timers and references. This is fine, yeah, we'll leave it on there. I'm not going to set this. Minimums we'll do as we go once we get to Innsbruck. There'll be a bit of a discussion about the approach because it's going to be quite a busy one, as they always are. Alright, let's take a quick look at the MFD. We'll start setting up the flight plan. So we're going with full fuel. We've got plenty of fuel for this trip. See, the engine's just warmed up. The map, we'll have that on. We'll put it on terrain as we get a little bit higher, just to avoid all the redness. Not going to need the weather radar. Traffic information as well will be good. Bring up the flight plan. Then it's going to be doing a GPS departure, RNAV departure. So I'll go select departure. It's going to be the Rattenberg 3 Alpha. Right there. The transition is of course Rattenberg. We'll just check to make sure that the sequencing is correct. I think we'll just have to load it and then display it. So that's there. Yep. 610, 616, 617, 53, 6500. Yep, that's all correct. That's all set. And that takes us to Rattenberg. So that's the first part. And after Rattenberg, we're going to be into Innsbruck. So we need to put the airport in first so that we can load the procedure. It's been a little while since I've used the G1000, but it's quite well modelled in this in Explain. So we'll pop that in there, highlight the airport, select the procedure and select, we're not going to be doing a full star, but we will be doing an approach from Rattenberg, and we'll see if they've got it here. It is technically the LOC DME East approach, which may not be shown here, but that's okay. It's all a conventional approach, so it might not actually be displayed. We've got localizer 26 on. Let's see what that one looks like. No, that's not the right one, so let's play around with that. Localizer 26. Just going to push the range out so I can see a bit better. I might not do that. Off sequence Rattenberg Adwig, and then so we'll check that as we go, but that looks about right. Minimums on the plate, well, on 26, it's with the sort of light aircraft we have. I have got no issues making, being able to climb up pretty quickly, or at least 5%. So we'll stick the minimums in at 3,300. It's quite high. Localizer 26. By Rattenberg, arrow minimums of 3.3. Doesn't look like, so I have to scroll that with the mouse. It's pretty high. Enter that in, load it, don't activate it because we're still at the other end. Okay, so that's the nav, we've got the comms, we've got everything else set. Quick check of the systems, yep, that's good. Pitot heat, yep. And all de-icing fluid, so good. Right, so GPS is currently set. It's a GPS departure, it's got the course 154, and I'm sorry, I said runway 33 earlier, what I meant was runway 15 for a southerly departure. And that is, so weather's fine, aircraft's fine, no TAMs, nothing to apply threats. Well, just make sure that we follow this. We're probably going to fly this manually without the autopilot until we get on at least past 617. So we taxi out from here onto the Lima up to Bravo. We'll do a quick engine run up there. It's a fairly quick process on this. After takeoff, this is the plate. It says an initial turn with a maximum of 165. Well, that's fine. I'll be doing it about, well, as low as 90 knots maybe. Yeah, 143 track to 643, and then make a left turn. Need to be above 2,160 when we get there. Don't worry, we'll have no issues with that. And then above 49, and then as said, up to the Rattenberg VOL. Pretty much it for the departure. Engine failure procedures, well again we'll just have to pitch the nose down slightly, make sure that the gear and the flaps are up. Of course before we rotation we can just close the throttle, apply brakes and vacate, but once we've got up into the air and we've not got much runway ahead of us, then we'll just have to pitch down slightly, control it using rudder, and then we'll go for an engine, slow down the failed engine and shut it down. I doubt that'll be a factor for us today, but if it is, then we thought about it. Okay, so I'm just checking back with that variable. Bring up a little heading bug as well. Set that to about 154. It's not much in the way of winds today, so good. Okay. That's all set. Happy with the references. Standing by. We'll take the transponder now to be. Put it on to out, so don't forget to do it later. There's no one here, so off we go then. Taxi lights on, clear on the right, clear on the left. Just double check the routing again. Make a quick call as well. Salzburg traffic, Foxtrot Bravo, Romeo Echo Zulu, taxiing to hold short runway 15 via Lima. Just a little call for any traffic maybe on frequency. Okay, so parking brakes off. Clear left, clear right. Just bring it round to the left. Brake check, brakes are good. While we're at it, we'll set some takeoff flat. We'll do all the ECU tests when we get a bit further down, so this is fine. Normally could put pitot heat on, but it's a fairly nice day with no clouds, so I'm not too concerned about that. We've done the tests, so that's fine. Clear on the right. Bring the yaw down, but we'll bring a flight director in as well, which we do have on here. Set the modes that we need. It's going to be manage nav. grab flight level change at about 90 knots as well, so 100 knots we'll call it. This one goes up pretty quickly. Good, so yeah, GPS navigation with the flight director's yaw dampers on, and yeah, we're going to be going to selected altitude of 10,000. Following the SID. Wind is variable, so we'll just position on the hold short. If you're just joining the stream, we're currently just holding short of runway 15 at Salzburg. We're making our way into Innsbruck. Had a quick look at the plates, so hopefully all goes well, but we'll be reviewing it quite thoroughly on the route. Okay, parking brake is on. Just run through some checklist items that I may have missed while doing it from memory. We'll go for the pitot heat as well, actually. Fuel pumps can now come on. Oh, I'm doing that through here on, so fuel pumps left and right for departure. Everything else looks about right. The transponder is on out. Trimmers are set for takeoff and the electric trim is available. Autopilot is currently off, but the flight director is on. And we checked, yep, this is all fine. Fill selectors are already on, we checked those, yep. So before takeoff, we'll just do a quick ECU test and then we'll run through that. So all we have to do is push the two buttons in. You'll see some indications on the PFD, and it's because this is a FADEC aircraft, the engines are controlled by an electronic system. We just test that before departure, and it also warms up the engine. That's done. Just check all the ECUs by flipping the switches as well. That's fine. And we'll just run through these items now. So all the doors are closed on all sides. Just bring up the menu because it's a bit easier to see then. Yep, they're already off. Doors annunciation systems page, yep, everything is all in the green. That's fine. Directional trim flaps are set for takeoff. Flight controls were checked. We'll check it again. Well, good luck. There we go. Pitot heating is on. It says if required. To be honest, I don't actually think we'll need that, so we'll switch it off, but we'll take the landing lights and strobes in a moment. This is the ECU test, which I've just done already, so we'll skip that. We're going to be rotating about 76 knots. This is yep, ECU test load. You can disregard all of this. That's fine. Yep. That's about it really. So we'll just go for the takeoff. The transponder is on, so we're good to go. Alternate air is also closed. Okay, off we go. Parking brake is off. One way's clear. All lights are on. Innsbruck traffic, Foxtrot Bravo Romeo Echo Zulu rolling, runway 15. Rattenberg 3 Alpha departure. Normally there'd be ATC at an airport like this, but it's just VATSIM. Use as much runway as we like, although it's not really going to be a threat for us. We have more than enough runway in a plane like this. Okay, starting the timer. Off we go. If it gets too loud, just let me know. Keep it straight. It's a much noisier plane. Speeds are live, opens in between. And rotate. So we've climbed here. So initially about 12. Trim is required. Take the flaps. see the flight directives now coming up. And the pitching for about 100 knots. Go for climb power. Pitching for about 100. This isn't really showing me the correct data, but I'll bring the plate up just to make sure. Okay, that still looks about right. We'll just keep following it. It should really be giving us a slight left turn. It looks like it's not sequencing correctly. We'll make the turn now and just follow straight to the next waypoint. Climb going. Sound is all good, good to know. Oh, it's very bumpy. Oh Lord. Okay, I'm just going to line up with there for the moment. Double check what the plate's got. So we're tracking, we're looking for 610, so that is the waypoint that's currently sequenced, that's what we've got there. So what we'll do, it's quite hard to push these buttons in the air. What we're doing is we're just following the blue needle to get us to the next waypoint. So I need to taking us direct to it now. Not quite convinced by the way that agenda is looking, but okay. Get some automation in now. Autopilot, I'm just going to, I might just grab that in heading for the moment. No, can't go that way. So now I'll put it into nav. Okay, now it's in GPS, so it's following 610. Not too convinced by how it managed that, but we were able, didn't let me do that earlier. Coming up. Go for about 120 or so in flight level change. Okay, now it's sequencing it. Yeah, not quite convinced by how it did the turn. It normally would have to go to 643, but it wanted me to turn much earlier there, but we're on track now. Climbing a 10,000. Let's just pretend at this point the ATC cleared us up because we don't actually have controllers. We'll set an altitude of 2000 and go for standard. PFE standard barrow set. I'm going to do the same thing up here. Quite hard to see, but it is set to 1013. Now that we're doing the right thing, We'll go landing lights, taxi lights off, we'll take the fuel pumps off. Should be able to feed automatically by itself. Yeah, not entirely convinced by how the GPS sequenced that departure, but there we go. I was expecting it to reach 643, then make a gentle left turn, but it sort of got to this point here before the waypoint and wanted me to just go do a straight 180, so that was interesting. Bumpy today. So anyway, tracking up to this 616 and then we'll be proceeding to Ratzenberg. Once we get to cruise, we'll be having a look at the procedure. Cruising at about 172 knots, Taz. Would a huge fan of that. So the autopilot mode we've got on at the moment is GPS for last sort of longitude navigation, so getting us from the GPS fixes, the waypoints. We've got a yaw damper on because the aircraft like this have a tendency to potentially it minimises unnecessary input to the rudders. Or well, not really the best way of explaining it. The best way to understand why we need the yaw damper is because some aircraft have a stability tendency to yaw slightly uncontrollably, not completely uncontrollably, but in a way that is just slightly disturbs the flight path, so we use the yaw damper to minimise that. Some aircraft have it, some don't. It's not necessary on everything, but it's just if some aircraft have a tendency to have this slight instability in the yaw, then they'll fit a yaw damper. And then climbing up to selected altitude, 12,000 at a speed of 120 knots on flight level change. So, and that basically just takes the engine power that we've got behind us. See if any controllers. Doesn't look like it, mate. Doesn't look like the stream overlay is still showing anything, so I'm going to have to look into that. I might just get rid of it for the time being. What I can tell you is that we've just left Salzburg and we're going to Innsbruck. Initially I was going to hand fly this phase of the departure and then bring the autopilot in about now, but GPS was doing some funky things, so just trying to reduce my workload, get the automation in, and then control it from there. So we've got above 10,000, it's about 3 minutes past 1. We'll keep an eye on that to see if we need any oxygen. So we're reaching there, 300 to go. Should level off at 12,000 and then we'll just adjust the power to keep a TAS of 172. Show you what that looks like here. Where's the pitching down? With altitude select 1-2000, speed's coming up again. Out. Quite bumpy today. Just rolling off the hills. Start bringing the power back. See what sort of power we need to maintain 172. Looks like about 65%. There we go. And now you just enjoy the views. Just down there behind us. And we're now just tracking to Ratzenberg. It's 37 miles away. So we'll have a look at this approach then, because there's quite a lot to think about here. We're going to be arriving at Ratzenberg. That's the first thing. Most of this is just frequencies for the ATC. They're probably not going to be online, but if they are, then we'll have those. I'll put those on the standby. So it's going to be Innsbruck radar 119 or 275. That's just in case they come online. I can quickly contact them. I've already put some of this information in, but I'm just going to check that what is in there is correct. Speed's coming back a little bit. We don't have an auto thrust on this, so we have to keep that in check. Bumpy today. Bring up the map. Put the terrain display on. Just for some essay, we're going over some high ground. So. Yeah. So to the south of the airport, this is based off the Ratzenberg NDB. This is some pretty high terrain. You need to be above 14,200 to keep safe in that terrain if you can see it. But we can be as low as 9.5 as long as we're on track. So 9.5 is what we'll descend to when we get to Ratzenberg. And that's the platform altitude for the approach. And it's an odd approach. It's not, depending on which runway you're going in for. If you were landing on 08, you'd have to do a circle round to land. I'm just going to double check what the winds are doing. Last time I checked it was favouring 2-6, so we're going to be landing the westerly direction, which is actually slightly easier for us. It means we just pretty much go straight in after intercepting the localizer. It's also a fairly steep profile, just 4 degrees. 4 degrees, normally it's about 3 degrees when you're coming down the slope, so the speed we're going to be doing it at will be about 120, so expecting some 800 feet per minute. Minimums I've already set 3,300, so if you go into references you can see I've pre-selected that down there. And that's the point where we need to go around if we weren't visual. Now if we look at the weather, you can see it's cab okay, it's lovely conditions, so I've got no concerns about that whatsoever. So the plan was arrive at Ratzenberg, track 210 outbound, intercept a 255 course to the Oscar Echo Victor, which is a localizer DME in fact, and then make a straight on approach, or if we don't see it for whatever reason, get to distance 1. We'll start the climbing at 3.5, distance 1, then make a left-hand turn back to the run. And one thing I'd like to point out with this aircraft is it doesn't have an ADF, so these points, Ratzenberg, Run, they're all ADFs, or NDBs, non-directional beacons, which is and the ADF is something that you need on the aircraft to see them. So what we'll do is we'll use the GPS to see those, and we also have a waypoint suspension, and that means we can effectively turn the GPS location into an NVIDIA. It doesn't really mean much, but it just means that we can still fly this approach. So let's just make sure that that's all in here. Go for. I just wanted to check that the flight plan is sequenced correctly. So if we remove that, we don't need Rattenbergen twice. So what I'll do is we'll just temporarily drop it into heading mode. It's heading 225 at the moment. Do that. Bring up the flight plan. Go direct to that Rattenberg. That's now fine. So that sequencing's good. We'll put it back into nav. Put GPS up there. Back to the MFD. So how's this sequence? So we've got to arrive at Rattenberg, and we've got this add waypoint, which is a GPS position. That's pretty much straight in. We fly a track inbound at 255. And then what we do is we don't really need any sequencing because it is a conventional approach. Yeah, just we just need to check that the frequencies are in. So we've got Oscar Echo Victor identified up there. Technically we have to identify the DME as well. You might have just heard those beeps there, and it's Morse code. It's pretty quiet. I don't know if you would have heard that, but it was just beeping off this code here. Just checking that it has actually appeared. So using set the course, which is 255. The frequency is in. This is okay. Let me just check that run is actually in the flight plan, because it's not. No, it's not actually in the flight plan. So what we'll do is we'll pop that in there. And this is just in case we have to go for the MISC approach. And that's just there in case things go miss. So I've explained the procedure already. We've got the information, and the next waypoint is Rattenberg, but it's still 20 miles out. So now that's all set up. I'm just going to go outside and enjoy some views. I've got photo scenery installed for Innsbruck, so it should look rather nice. Let's check the controllers, see if there's anyone online. Extremely bumpy. Right, covering the controls here. Struggling to keep the altitude there. I'm taking control for the moment. Just checking that vertical speed, checking it's not being excessive. Probably some mountain waves. Not too extreme. Pilot's back in. So I believe. Okay, so that button was working. I'm using a hardware panel, external panel, for seeing the setter turning the autopilot on and off. So I was just checking that was working. The rudder is slightly out of balance, so maybe if I nudge to the right. Okay. 14 miles from Rattenberg now. If we descend 1,000 feet per minute, we'll need 2.5 minutes. see we've just got a looks like a VNAV path that's come up as well. At this point I will set her up to make a track outbound from Rattenberg, so I'll put it into heading mode. What we'll do is we'll go to the PFD, we'll leave that on GPS mode, and we'll set the DME on. Doesn't really matter which way around it's set. It's currently set to DME now, when it's the same thing. So we're 38 miles from the localizer. We've got CDI to show 255, and that's for the localizer. So basically just single needle tracking to Rattenberg now. That's the blue needle, which is currently showing GPS. Down the valley now. Radios there. Normally we fly the jet, sometimes it's nice to just slow down a bit. I'll probably be doing a lot more Innsbruck approaches, but it's nice to sort of do it on a slightly slower plane, figure things out. And I haven't actually been on the sim in a few days. I've been doing some work at a hospital, so I haven't flown this plane in a while. So. Try and see if we can use the VNAV profile. I believe. OBS 1000. That should be fine. We'll slow it down very shortly to 140 TAS. Very complicated. Very bumpy. Okay, about 5 miles out from Rattenberg now. There you can see us on the map now. So we do actually have autopilot on the PFD, which is good. It's the traffic, Foxtrot Bravo Romeo Echo Zulu is Rattenberg for the locked DMEs to approach on 26. Just checking there's no one else. We'll start to slow it down. Start descending. We'll go VS for about 1,000 feet per minute. We'll adjust the power as necessary. And we'll set an altitude of 90,500. Altitude select is on. Made the announcement, no one said anything, so arrive slightly above 9,500 at Rathenberg. There's the turn, so we'll go heading. Swing it left to intercept. We want to be tracking about 210. Landing lights and taxi. Tracking to point Adwig. After Adwig we can then make a right turn. Get ourselves onto the localizer. To go. Shallow out the descent slightly. Bring the speed buggy back to about 120 knots. Should work well. Out what he said there, but there is traffic. Foxtrot Bravo Romeo Echo Zulu is shortly turning final forward Rock DME approach from 26, we're about 22 miles out. Okay, approaching level off, keep the speed coming back and then we'll make that right turn as well. Okay, we'll look for the traffic, block Foxtrot Echo Zulu. Don't see anyone on the main radar, so we'll just track this way for the moment. Just have a quick intercept, so just keep tracking left for the moment. So we're looking for traffic. Speed about 120. Localizer capture, glide slope is armed. Missed approach altitude, I believe is already set, so 9,500. Yep, there it is. Localizer capture, glide slope capture, so now going down the slope. Problem with flying without controllers. Normally they'd expect us to hold if there was going to be a traffic conflict, but keep our eyes out. Pioneer ATC plane now a bit loud. Okay. Do a quick adjustment. But traffic Foxtrot Bravo Romeo Echo Zulu is fully established, localizer DME east approach 17 miles from touchdown. So we'll keep looking. What's the slope? So distance 1787. 3. It's a bit lower than I would normally like, but we'll keep monitoring as we go. Distance 16. It's quite far off actually on the height. I might just level off. Monitor the difference as we go. It does seem a bit lower than I would normally expect. So we've got 15 miles. It's meant to be 7.9. Already at 7.7. So might have got a false glide. I might just level off the descent shortly. Should level off the descent now. Push for out 7.6. Very, very bumpy. I can barely read that. At 14 miles we should be at 7.5, which is what I've just set. So.
Caution, there is a aircraft on the runway.
Roger, Foxtrot Echo Zulu. Just want to see if the glide slope bumps itself up, because it might be 14 miles. It's supposed to be 7,005. Oh, hang on, I think I know what that is actually. Let's go to approach. To recapture the glide slope from above, so pitch down. I knew something wasn't right. I know what that is. Trim it. Shh. Trying to get some drag to help us get down. Extremely bumpy. Gears coming down. Extremely bumpy. So it wasn't a false glide slope capture, it was the altimeter needs to be set differently. So I'm just trying to get it back into the profile, then I'll set that. We also know there's one traffic on the runway. I've actually already got the airport in sight. Okay, I'm just going to bring that up real quick. Come off standard barrier. Gear is down 3 greens. We'll start setting up the 9 miles, 5.5. Okay, yeah, now it matches up. So it was just the setting of the QNH, so that's now set. And now the altitude matches up. So the speed is good for flaps 1. Since there's someone on the runway, we'll just delay it. Probably just going to hand flight for the moment. It's a bit traffic. Foxtrot Echo Zulu's 8 miles to touchdown. Let's keep reporting. So I haven't really got an easy way of, without controllers, no one can really tell me what's happening with the traffic situation. But the missed approach point is 1 mile. where we need to make a left turn. So we're now purely following the localizer now. Looks like traffic's clear. Yes, we took the approach slightly slow. Give the traffic time to vacate. Approaching that minimum descent. Foxtrot Echo Zulu, Innsbruck traffic Foxtrot Echo Zulu is 3 miles, touchdown 26. So visual conditions, everything's fine, we're just going to continue. Okay, so we'll break off the localizer, just make the landing. So gears down 3 greens, altimeter set. Speed is safe, landing flat please. That's it. Slightly high correcting. Possibly slight wind from the north. Okay, runway's clear. Slight wind. The touchdown zone. Slightly overshot the point, aiming point, but that's fine. We need to roll to the end of the runway anyway, so. Bring this up for reference. There's our exit. Innsbruck traffic, Foxtrot Echo Zulu vacating out for taxi to the GA. So we'll get clear of the runway, clean up, park up. Ooh, a bit messy. I think the primary issue was triggered by the forgetting to set the QNH until a bit late, and I was starting to wonder why the altitude was wrong. Eventually corrected it it's quite difficult to push some of these buttons. I think I should have turned off. Well, I believe I turned off all of the general shakiness. I mean, some shakiness is okay, but when you're trying to click buttons on a screen, it can be quite difficult. When it sort of brings in all that shaking, camera shaking effect, I mean. Okay, so we'll clear the runway. Set the brakes, clean the plane up. We'll take the landing lights off, strobes off, pumps can come off. That's it. We'll do the bring up the the transponder. Can't hear anything. It's really hard to see. Right, that's on standby now. Stop the timer. And there's the guy that was waiting for us to land. Nice places, Innsbruck. Oh. He's backtracking for 2.6. GA ramp's just up there. Not indicated on the plate specifically how to enter it, so we'll just go straight ahead. I'd expect normally we'd have a marshal helping us out, so watch him go. As BA just joined. There we go. Bring the park brakes on. Lights can come off. Everything else is fine, that's fine, that's fine. Pretty much just shove the masters off. Welcome to Innsbruck. It's gone already. Fairly short trip. Quite busy. But it's nice to be back. Nice to be in the GA again. I definitely don't fly this one as much, and I haven't done an actual full flight in it since, well, it would have been months now, but nice to see it again. Short and sweet. Probably be doing a few more of these flying this plane as well once I get a bit more comfortable with it. It's been a while. But it's fairly straightforward and easy to fly, much more so than the Airbus at least. Quick replay. We'll disconnect from the network. Disconnected. That's a bit far. Yeah, extreme. extremely bumpy. I've never actually had a sort of turbulence like that in this plane before, so maybe that's a new feature. Every detail as we make our way down. Do the buildings look European to you? A huge train station. It's a bit noisy, this one, on the outside. Smooth enough. Wasn't too worried about using as much runway because you do have to go all the way to the end. About it, really. Fairly easy plane to fly. I'm going to be doing a bit more with it. I'm going to try and see if I can relearn what I remember, because I was very familiar and competent with this, but it seems either I programmed it wrong on the startup, or it got quite confused at the when I did that departure. Because what it should have done, I'll see if I've still got the player here to show you. I was expecting it to fly much more. To do the takeoff and then get to this 643 and then give us this large turn round to 610, but it almost just seemed to expect us to do a 180, so that kind of confused me. But we managed it, we got there. And I suppose the other thing was when we were coming into Innsbruck, just very late setting on the QNH there caused the altitude profile to look incorrect as we went down the glide slope. We were actually at the right place. I thought it might have captured a false glide slope, but it was actually because the QNH wasn't set. So again, when we set that up, got back onto the right slope, and then it was fairly straightforward from there. I suppose we also had the benefit of making the straight-in approach, which is much easier than going the other way. If the winds were favouring and were coming from the east, then you'd have to do a sort of circling procedure, and I'll probably be doing some of that at some point as well. Anyway, fairly short, fairly sweet. Thanks for joining. Look forward to seeing you again soon.